Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for our Formpak demo training session. The Formpak demo system is a great environment for testing new areas of the software, trialing changes, and training staff without the worry of compromising your own data. So if you'd like to utilise the demo system, just let us know and we'll send you the link and the login details. The demo system can be used by multiple users, so avoid entering any confidential information or lots of data because it's reset every day. If you need to do continual testing with your own data, then a test server might be beneficial. So if you want a costing on that, just let us know. Please contact us. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we can go through these at the end of the session. So today we'll look at some of the capabilities of Formpak that you may or may not be aware of. So we're going to have a look at adding a new property, customizing a safety data sheet with the property, global change process, producing samples, item code sequences, item code changes, item class changes, application settings, marketing classes and notes, and then some additional modules that you might not have in your own system, which is advanced regulatory, which involves suitability checking and snapshots, and projects, and PCN, which is poison center notifications. So before we start the first topic, I'd just like to draw your attention to the very handy support centre. So in the support centre, you can find articles, guides, videos, and all the tip of the months. And you can search in the box for anything within Formpak that you need assistance with. So if you enter like a key area, maybe you want to type formulation and press enter, it'll bring up all the support articles that have got the word formulation in them. And you can do that with any area of Formpak and support articles will appear. Okay, so the first topic that we're going to have a look at is adding a new property. So we're going to add a new property. You might find this useful adding new properties on the demo system first to test them, because if they're set up incorrectly, it can cause calculation failures and you won't be able to print documents which will impact all your users on your live system. So new properties can be added to reflect information you want to add to raw materials, formulations. You might want to include country of origin, regional compliance, or usages, and properties can be manual or they can be calculated, and there's different types available for selection. So if we navigate to add a new property, okay, so I'm going to add a new property to confirm the formulation is compliant with the TSCA, which is the Toxic Substance Control Act, which is the US chemical inventory. So if I give my property a code, so this is usually in uppercase, it just makes it easier to search for and add the name of the property. So TCU, okay, and the name is, I'm going to say it's compliant with TCA, and you can add a description. So the property type is going to be additional regulatory information. So I'll add that to the property type, and the property group is going to be the same. It's going to be additional regulatory information, but you can add that to multiple property groups if you wanted to. You could add it to CLP or GHS hazards, and it'd appear in that property group as well. And the value type. So this is going to be a yes or no property, but you can see here that you can choose from multiple property values. So if we click yes and then click save, and we don't need to recalculate all the properties for the item, so click OK. And now we're going to modify the formulation and change the value of the property that we've created to yes. Okay, so if we go into modify a formulation, and then input our formulation, and go into the Properties tab. And then if we go into additional regulatory information and then start typing our property, it will appear. And if we change the property value to yes, and then click save, it's been a bit slow. Come on. There we go. So that brings us on to the next topic, which is customizing the safety data sheet with a property. So if we go to print a document for an item, and input our item, and then we want to print the safety data sheet. So print to PDF, click OK. Okay, and if we scroll down now to section 15, we can see that our properties appeared here under section 15, 5.1. Okay, so we've got a very handy SDS notes guide which indicates the properties and property groups where information to generate the SDS is pulled from within Formpak, and also additionally which properties and property groups information can be added to on the safety data sheet, which is here. See if I can bring that up for you. Let's have a look. Here it is. Okay, so it's just a handy guide. It tells you which information is pulled from which property groups and any additional information that you want to add to property groups and how it will appear. So underneath this, it says underneath this item has properties and the property group additional regulatory information, then show the properties in order of the properties in property group with each property on a new line, and then it gives you some information there. So we've got that for every area of the safety data sheet. So my very fabulous and glamorous colleague Richard will add this into the chat so you can have a copy if you don't already have a copy, because it's very handy to have if you want to add any additional things to the safety data sheet. Okay, so let's have a look at the next thing. Okay, so we've done adding a new property and we've done customizing a safety data sheet with a property. So the next thing we're going to have a look at is the global change process. So if we navigate to the global item composition modification. Okay. So you might want to try this on the demo system first to familiarize yourself with the process before attempting it on your live system. So this is used to replace items which are no longer might be available from your suppliers, or they're no longer suitable for use. So in our example, we'll be using orange oil because we can't get it from the suppliers any longer. So we're going to replace orange oil in all the formulations that it contained within. So I'll start typing the original raw material. Six, six. Okay, and then the replacement item is going to be another orange oil. Orange oil bitter. Okay, so if we click preview, we can see that these are all the formulations that the original items contained within. Okay, and then if we click replace, it says you want to proceed. If you click yes, it doesn't actually replace all the items. It gives you a list of the items that are going to be replaced, and here you can print it. So you might want to generate a report and save it so you know all the formulations that have been affected. And then if you click yes, then it replaces all the items for you. So you can do that with a specific item code, and you can do it for a whole host of formulations, and it'll replace the items. Okay, so that global item composition modification. So the next topic that we've got is producing samples. So if we have a look at produce samples, okay, so you might want to have a look at how this function could be used for your company. So some of you might already be aware that you can produce samples via the sample task on projects, but there is this separate area, produce samples, and here you can add produce samples to be requested for a company. So we're going to go for our drinks company. Okay, and we need to include the task code as well, which will be from the project. We'll add that. Okay, and then we want to add the sample quantity, so it's going to be 100 grams, and we want 1. So here you can add from a basket. So we're going to choose a basket and add some lemon and basil. We'll add those, and we can also add items directly as well. And then we just select the ones that we want. Okay. So it's been applied to the items that we've selected. And here we can print the formulations, print the requests, and request the samples as well. So if we click request samples, then this is sent to the manufacturing system, the ERP system, if you've got one integrated, and just click yes. So if we click yes, samples are sent. Okay, and you can also manage the samples and search for samples that have been produced as well in that section. Okay, so the next topic that we're going to have a look at is item code or code sequences. So if we navigate to code sequences, okay, so it's manage item code sequences. So we'll take a look at this. These can be set up automatically to assign codes to new items or other areas, and they can be alphabetic, numeric, or both. And you might want to experiment with the item code sequence on the demo system before applying it to your live system, just to see how they appear once created. So if we click add, to add a new item code sequence, okay, so we can name it, and we see that we can generate codes for items, which is formulations and raw materials. We could do it for cross-references, so codes that are given to your customers, so internal codes aren't shared. For item batches, for laboratory batches, for samples, and for UFIs as well. So you can upload multiple unique formula identifiers to assign to items. And these can be set up for specific item classes or all item classes, specific users. So you might want to create a code for a user. For example, a formulation developer might have their own unique code for adding formulations. And then action. So this relates to the circumstances when the code is allocated. So for example, you might want to select new code only, or you might want to select recode for final formulation. So new code for maybe formulation developers experimental numbers and recode for a final formulation number. Okay, and the generation method, so automatic, so that automatically assigns the code in accordance with the specification that you've entered. Advisory, so that suggests the code but allows you to override it. Manual, so you just manually enter your own code. And then external, so this is used for the item UFIs to import those. So the mask gives a structure of the code to be generated, so it's possible to include letters before and after the mask too. So the first mask, that means it's going to be replaced by a number, and this one's a year, then this one's the month, and then the day, and then this one is a timestamp. So, for example, it gives the year, the month, the date, and the time. And then this one is days of the week. So the week's expressed by a number. So 0 is Sunday and 6 is Saturday. And then the last two are uppercase and lowercase letters. So this gives you an idea of how the structure can be generated. And the last count is the last number previously used. So if this is a new code sequence, this is most often 0. And newly assigned codes will be the next in the sequence starting from the last count. And the increment, so that's often going to be 1, and each allocated code will be 1 higher than the previous code. And then you can have the maximum value, the minimum value, the maximum length of the code, and also any padding characters as well if required, such as that you might want to fill the gap whilst the numbers grow, for example, raw material to begin the code for raw materials. So let's add a new item code sequence and see how it appears. So my item code sequence is going to be called Cheryl. It's going to be for item code, so raw materials and formulations. It's going to be specific to me. So I'll put my user in. Okay, and it's going to be the timestamp. So if I just select that. Okay, and I'm going to add my initials at the beginning of it. And then if we click save, we want it for all item classes. Click save. Okay, so I've successfully added the item code sequence. And now if we go to, I don't know, raw material, we can see how it's going to be generated. So okay, and it's going to be a fragrance raw material, and it's going to be Cheryl's automatic code. Click OK. And there we go, we can see how it's generated. So it's my initial CG, it's the year, it's the month, it's the day, and it's a timestamp as well. So it's hours, minutes, seconds. Okay, so if we save that, and I can use it to show you the next thing. So the next thing is item codes. So item code changes. So if we go back into Formpak and navigate to, okay, so I want to assign a new code to an item. So you can manually change existing item codes for formulations and raw materials. So we're going to input the item, click enter, and it'll bring it up. Okay, so we can also change the item class here if required, but that does have permission implications. So you might just want to test it out on the demo system to familiarise yourself with it before you apply it to your own system. So item code sequence, we're going to choose manual, and the new manual code is going to be okay. So if you want to, you can select record old code. And only if you want to retain the code within the item history and maybe search for it at a later date. But if you've coded an item incorrectly and you don't want to record the old code, then you just untick it. Okay, we click save. It's asking us if we're sure we want to assign a new code. Yes, we're sure. And that's been changed. Okay, so as previously mentioned, you can change the item class of an item. So that's our next topic. Item class changes. So if we navigate to change item class of an item. So as previously mentioned, you can change the item class of an item. And people think this can be actioned in the item on the key details tab. But because it has an impact on permissions, it's got its own specific area. So you might want to familiarise yourself with the procedure on the demo before action it on your live system. So if we input the details, choose an item. So if we go for our fragrance, so we can change the item type. We change it to obsolete, and then obsolete formulation. This will remove it from view for certain users. And if we click save, okay. So you might want to change the item class, for example, from an experimental formulation to an available formulation for visitability purposes, or you might want to change it from an active formulation to an obsolete formulation. Okay, so let's have a look at the next topic. So the next topic is application settings. So these are the settings within the actual Formpak that you can change. So if we navigate to manage application settings, okay, we can see that we've got quite a range of settings there that are available to change. So changing these settings for the different areas, they have implications for all users. So I'd be very mindful of changing anything in here on your live system. So you've got automatic processing. So automatic processing settings ensure properties of raw materials and formulations are always up to date and allows the impact of updates to generate revised documents. And it also has its own area on Formpak to enable you to manage the options. Documents, if we have a look at that. So on the documents, you might not want to include the code on the documents that you supply to customers because you don't want the code to appear. So you can change that in here also as well. There's lots of different options that you can select in here. You've also got the opportunity to set emails up from within Formpak, so it sends emails. And then if we have a look at the user interface, okay, so you can change the default theme of the interface. So it might be useful if you wanted to change it to differentiate it between a test system and a live system. So default is this blue colour, and then we've got Vista, which is grey, and then we've got green, which is like a dentist green colour. So if we change it to green, and also you can rename your instance as well on Formpak. So we'll do that. And we click save. And then if we log out and log back in, there you go. It's a lovely dentist green colour. Okay. So additionally as well, in manage application settings, there's also areas for the additional modules for projects for poison center notifications and also suitability checking as well. So you might want to have a little look at those on the demo system. Okay, so let's have a look what we've got next. Marketing classes and notes. Okay, so let's navigate to that. Okay, so market class and market notes, they can be used to describe items, formulations, or raw materials, and this relates to character class and character notes, which are usually used to describe sensory properties such as odour and taste. So, market class and market notes are usually used in relation to market products, either to manage a market product library or relate your product library to market products. So, for examples include maybe the market sector laundry and the brand Persil. And often these characteristics are judgment based and relate to the commercial interests of your business. So you might want to add test market notes and class to the demo system to see how the functionality works. Because each company defines their own market class and market notes using add a new market class and add a new market note. So we just have a look for market class and see what we've got set up on our system, and then it gives you an idea then of how you can set them up. So we can see that we've got some brands there. And then if we have a look at the market note, search, okay, and we've got some items and brands there. Okay, so market class is the most defining characteristic. So only one market class can be assigned to an item. But market note, that allows for more detail because you can add multiple market notes to an item. And as well as these being useful information to know about products, market class and market notes are also searchable attributes in find matching items. And they can also be used independently of each other as well. So you can search independently in the find matching items, which is very useful. Okay, so let's have a look at what's next. So we'll have a look at the modules you might not have on your own system, such as advanced regulatory. So that includes suitability. So if we go back into Formpak, okay, so we're going to navigate to add a new suitability constraint. Okay. So suitability, this enables you to add suitability constraints, and these are compliance checks, so they can be targeted at parties, regions, customers, suppliers, and even your own business. And these reflect the policies about ingredient use. So you can ban ingredients, you might want to limit ingredients to a specific percentage in a concentration form or in an application, and ban certain hazards. So we'll now add a simple suitability constraint. So we input the party. So this can be a customer or supplier or even your own company. So we're going to choose our fussy customer. So customer fussy. And item classes. So you might want to ban something for fragrance, but you don't want to ban it for flavors. So if we choose our item class fragrance, and then we can add an application if we want to. So this would be a base item and the condition. So we're just going to add a simple suitability constraint. So we're just going to add it to the physical item. So it's going to be physical item limit. And then the item is going to be galaxolide, 50% DEP. And then the limit is going to be 0 because we don't want anything in there. So if we save that, okay, and then we're going to check our item. So if we navigate to check item suitability. Okay, so you can check item suitability in a number of areas. You could check it during product development, selection, document production, and also on demand. So there's lots of areas within Formpak that you can check the item suitability. So if we check our item, and our party was fussy customer. Okay, so we click check suitability. Okay, and it's failed. So if it passes, it comes up with a little green tick, and if it's not suitable, it'll come up with a little cross. And if you have a look at why, it'll generate a little report for you. Okay, so it gives us a little report like this, and it tells us why, because there's glycolide with DEP, and it gives you the value of how much is in there as well, which is handy if you've got multiple suitability constraints that you want to have set up for a particular customer. And they can be quite tricky, so it is useful to put them on the demo system first and maybe check them out to make sure they work correctly before putting them onto your own system. Or you could have a look at how some of the suitability constraints are set up on the demo, and you might want to use those on your system. Okay, so the next topic that we're going to have a look at for advanced regulatory is snapshots. So if we navigate to snapshots, okay. So snapshots is an additional feature, and it's what item properties look like at a point in time. So it can be automated in an automatic processing, and snapshots can be compared with previous versions. And you record snapshots of item properties. Um, when you're saving changes to manual item properties, these are recorded in a new version of the item property, and it also records the values of the calculated properties. So you can view snapshots and compare snapshots of item properties. And I think this will be super useful with the new IFRA 51st amendment coming out, because then you can compare with the previous version of the properties for the IFRA. Okay, so that gives you a brief overview of that. You might want to have a little look at it and see how it works and play around with it. So the next thing that we're going to have a quick look at is projects. So projects is another feature on the demo system that can be used to manage all kinds of work. So projects can involve product development, product evaluation, samples, and other possibilities such as testing and analytical requests. So let's navigate to view a project template. Okay, so if we choose a standard project, so to set up projects, you have to create a project template, and this determines the project attributes you want to be shown on the project. So you can add properties, and these capture maybe additional information that you want to include, such as selling price and cost price, and you can include presentations. You might want to include one for odor, and primary party address. So primary party is the customer. So you can include all this information on the project template. And then these are the tasks. So the tasks are added and assigned to users, and these need to be completed to fill the project. So if we now add a new project, and then you can see how it appears. Okay, so we're going to choose our project template, which is a standard project. And this is the usual flow of how a project works. And then the project sequence is just going to be automatic. The project code is going to be automatically assigned. The primary party is going to be our fussy customer. Okay, and the date required is going to be tomorrow because they're really demanding. So if we save this, okay, so we can see that we need a project name. You can add any additional information. If you've had a relating project, you can input in that in there. You can add the project manager. So project manager is usually the person inputting the project. It might be an account manager. And then you can add project modifiers. So those will be included in there. And then the project modifier can modify the actual project, but they wouldn't actually be able to modify any of the tasks. And then you've got the priority and the date, and any contact name or contact information, and then the delivery party. That might be different from the actual customer. So it might be going to a customer, but then for a customer, but it might be going to a contract manufacturer. So that's where you put that information in there. So focus item. So focus item deals primarily with analysis of an item, and focus applications. So that would be the base item. And then you could include any sample information that you wanted to include there, such as the quantity and the number required. And then you could include sample notes. So these would be something that would be be on the sample delivery note, which would be sent to the customer with the samples. So they might specify like no glass on site. So you put that information in there. And then you can include properties, so information that you wanted to capture, and any notes such as a customer brief. So that can be copied and pasted into there. It's a massive field. So you could copy and paste emails if you wanted to. Okay, and then parties. So parties, you could add the delivery party and any additional parties that I'd have interest in the project. And then on the task tab, so these are the tasks that need to be completed to fulfill the project, and each task can have its own requirements, be targeted at a specific user, and have their own date as well. And the next tab is attachments. So on the attachments tab here, you can add any attachments that you want to for the project, such as maybe marketing literature or presentations. So if you'd like to have additional information on projects, or you could get in touch with us or have a look at the support centre to see how projects are set up, because it can be quite a complex area. So if you wanted to have a look at it on the demo system as well, just let us know. Okay, so the next thing we're going to have a look at is PCN, so Poison Centre Notifications. So Poison Centre notifications, for those of you might not know, is a procedure of notification used by a company to report information in a Euclid format about a hazardous mixture that's classified for health or physical hazards. So that's in accordance with Article 45, Annex 8 of the CLP regulations. So you can generate the dossiers from within Formpak for submission into the ECHA portal. So there's some initial setup required, such as importing a legal entity and file to a default TO, target organisation. Also excluding non-hazardous accumulator items, so that would be done with a fancy property. And I'm making a template formulation to copy like the standard parameters over. So to generate a dossier, I need to add a new cross-reference. So, oh, okay, so our customer is going to be fussy. And the item is going to be citrus fragrance. Okay, and it's going to be default manual. And the name is going to be citrus fragrance, if I can spell it correctly. Okay, and we need to add a UFI number in here, so I'm just going to put a random number in. Okay, oh, and click save. And then we're going to generate a dossier. So now if we navigate to generate a poison centre notification, and put the item in. Okay, and the company. And then click generate, and then it processes it for us. Oh, let's try it again. Oh. Okay. Customer fussy item. Oh, I see. Okay. So I need to select this formulation because this is the one that's got the actual setup template formulation for the parameters. So it's going to be automatic. And click, oh, add the UFI. Click save. Let's try it again. Okay. And put our item in. And the company. Okay. Drum roll. Click generate. Okay, so it's now generating the dossier. So it takes a bit of time because it's collating all the information. So once the dossier is generated, then you can submit that into the ECHA portal. Makes it a lot easier for you. It's less time consuming. Okay, so you could download that, save it, and then send it to the ECHA portal. Okay, so I think we've covered all the topics. So giving you an overview of the different functionalities available on Formpak. So if you wanted more in-depth info, have a look at the articles and the videos available on the support centre. So that now concludes our session on the demo system.